It's the middle of Sukkot, and we've been talking about Sukkot now for a while. Maybe tomorrow I'll look at Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, which begin this weekend. Let me point to one of the most beautiful teachings about Sukkot that I know. The schach, the strange stuff that we put on top of the sukkah. Anyone have any idea? I'll give 100 rabbi points to anyone who chimes in with a comment. Where the root for that comes from, where in the Torah it appears. We have to remember that the word sukkah, the root for sukkah is schach. You can have every part of a sukkah, but if you don't have that covering, the very specific kind of covering, which has to be something that grew from the ground but is no longer attached to it. The root of sukkah is schach, but where does schach happen in the Torah? It's a very interesting question. The more I look into it, the more fascinated I am by the use of schach as part of this holiday, because it points in a very surprising direction. So, seeing that there aren't suggestions, but we do have love coming to us from Morocco. Larry, great to see you. Hope you're well, enjoying your trip. That's pretty far away. I don't think we've ever been in Morocco before, but now we're in Morocco and Australia, and we're in France. We were in Chile yesterday. So Joyce, yes, it is in the Psalms, but actually it's not. That's not the original root. The original root, fascinating enough, is when the kruvim, the cherubs, are covering the ark. It says their wings were sochachim. Their wings were covering, were sheltering what was underneath it. And that makes perfect sense because the schach that we have on the sukkah protects whoever is inside the sukkah. Protects, with permeable boundary. It's a very interesting teaching because that tells me something. Hold on to that for a second. There's a classic debate in rabbinic literature about what the sukkah represents between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer. One believes that the Sukkot that we sit in are reminders of the Sukkot that we lived in when we were in the desert. And the other believes that the Sukkot are the clouds of glory, God's clouds of glory. And both have been very interesting. And in fact, both should be a little bit shocking. Why? Because we actually did not live in Sukkot in the desert. If you look in the Torah, nowhere except the command about Sukkot does it ever say that we lived in Sukkot while in the desert. We didn't. In fact, we know this because when a non-Israelite prophet looked at us, what did he say? Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. We lived in tents. We did not live in Sukkot. What do the Sukkot point to? And if the other opinion, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer, if the other opinion is true, where it's the clouds of glory, we didn't live in the clouds of glory. What lived under a cloud of glory? The Mishkan, the tabernacle. And in fact, in English, when you translate Sukkot in a non-Jewish environment, it's called the holiday of tabernacles, of the Mishkan, not of the places that we lived. By the way, we're also in Mexico. Gewalt. So good to see you, Anna. Thank you for bringing us, at least being in a new place. Maybe you've been there the whole time, but I didn't know. So glad that we get to be in Morocco and Mexico and Australia and France today. We're travelers. Back to Sukkot. Why does the schach that we use refer, or at least have its source, in the way the angels would protect the Mishkan? Here's a deep lesson. It's very deep. So friends, open your hearts. When the tabernacle that we used in the desert was built and rebuilt, as we move from place to place on the way to the land of Israel, the angels, the cherubs, the kruvim, their wings would be sochachim. Their wings would be the schach over the ark. And the most beautiful part of the description in the book of Exodus, where we see this, describes the cherubs as facing each other, ish el achiv. They looked at each other and their wings protected the ark. When we finally built the temple in Jerusalem, there actually is a very different description of the way the cherubs face. They face ish el habayit. Each one faced the walls. And there's a very, very big discrepancy between the angels facing each other and facing the walls, especially when you think about the way their wings must have faced when their faces were toward each other. The wings protected. But when you face away, you don't protect. And in fact, the Talmud says that when Jews were acting the way we're supposed to act, the angels would face each other. And when we don't, the angels face away from each other. Think about that when it comes to the images of permanence and impermanence that we just shared. What is the sukkah that we build, friends? Is it a permanent structure like the temple in Jerusalem? Is it a temporary structure like the Mishkan, the desert tabernacle? Obviously, it's temporary. And the temporary nature of the sukkah and the way that the wings of the angels would protect anything inside of that space should be a reminder to us, first of all, that creating permanent structures comes at a cost. Sometimes we forget to take care of each other when we tend to the walls. That is a big, big cautionary tale for any community, including the Jewish community. The sukkah is there to remind us to spread our wings and face each other, to face our world, to be in it. The temporary nature of the sukkah, which was always intended to be temporary, is there to remind us that just like the schach, we too are temporary. And we have to make good use of our time. We have to activate our souls and face each other and take care of each other and protect each other and not hide behind permanent walls, which, as Andrew just shared, didn't end up permanent either. We don't really know how to say such a thing, but perhaps what we thought of as permanent didn't last because we didn't remember who we were supposed to be within and outside of it. And Sukkot is a reminder to do better, to remind us that we don't have forever to take care of each other, and that we can spread our wings like angels over others. That is the work, friends, of being a person. Judaism is precious, and it tells us to be a person, and it tells us in Hebrew how to do it. This holiday that we are in should be a reminder to us to summon our more beautiful angels and to never face away from other human beings, to spread our wings wherever we can as a community. Because schach grew from this earth and doesn't last forever. The sukkah that we build doesn't last. That's intentional. Friends, let's be intentional about the way we do good in the world. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of Sukkot. Tomorrow we're going to start talking about Shmini Atzeret and Hoshana Rabbah. Switch the order. Hoshana Rabbah and Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. It has been beautiful to share all of these Sukkot teachings with you. Chag Sameach, friends. Let's sing our way into a good day. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow.